Have you ever felt uneasy with someone, as if a shadow lurked just outside your vision? They smile and chat politely, yet something about their presence feels off. What if I told you that underneath civility and normal discussions, some individuals conceal intense anger, even hatred, for you? Most of us want to assume that if someone hates us, they would make it clear. But reality is rarely so straightforward. Hatred frequently wears a mask. It conceals itself in subtle behaviors, veiled words, and little betrayals that are easily overlooked until the damage is done. Stoicism tells us that, while we cannot control how people see us, we must be cautious about the energy we let into our lives. Some individuals don't overtly express their animosity, but their behaviors betray the reality. And if we fail to notice the warning signals, we risk being drained, deceived, or even taken advantage of by someone we previously trusted. In this video, I will reveal 12 unmistakable symptoms that someone may secretly detest you. These indicators aren't always loud. They are frequently silent, almost undetectable, unless you learn how to recognize them. And once you do, you'll never be duped again. Stay with me to the finish, because I'll teach you a profound lesson that will not only help you discover buried hatred, but also show you how to overcome it with knowledge and power. Finally, you are responsible for your own peace of mind. Are you prepared to see the truth? Let us begin. Sign 1. They grin, but their eyes do not. A genuine grin is more than simply a movement of the lips. It is an expression of the spirit. When someone is really pleased to see you, their entire face brightens, particularly their eyes. What if the grin is present, but the eyes are distant, cold, or empty? That is hardly a warm grin. It is a mask. Consider a moment when you welcomed someone and they smiled back, but something felt off. Their demeanor was courteous, but the atmosphere was odd. Perhaps their eyes avoided yours, or when they did catch your look, there was no genuine connection, merely a false train gesture. You felt it, right? That subtle but undeniable feeling that you were not actually welcome. The Stoics believed in perceiving reality as it is, not as we would like it to be. Hatred does not necessarily express itself through loud words or outright antagonism. Sometimes it hides beneath artificial politeness, a phony benevolence that exists only because societal standards need it. The eyes, on the other hand, cannot be deceived. They express the genuine character of a person's heart. If someone smiles at you but their expression is lifeless or colored with something deeper, such as anger, bitterness, or even silent disdain, pay attention. It is not affection. It is, at best, tolerance, and at worst, veiled hate. This reality can be difficult to accept, especially if the individual in question is a close friend, co-worker, or family member. However, lucidity is often accompanied by suffering. Once you know this symbol, you will no longer be fooled by hollow niceties. You will see people for who they are, not as they try to be. And by doing so, you recover your power. If you've ever felt this unpleasant separation, believe your intuition. A grin that does not extend to the eyes is not a smile. This is a warning. Sign 2. They always make reasons to avoid you. Not all hatred is loud. It sometimes talks silently. When someone genuinely despises you, they will rarely approach you directly. Instead, they'll gradually remove you from their lives, one excuse at a time. Consider a friend or coworker who formerly made time for you, but is now always too busy. Initially, their justifications appear to be legitimate: work demands, family responsibilities, and tiredness. However, with time, the pattern becomes evident. They used to accept invites but now refuse them. Casual meetups turn into maybe next time, until the next time never arrives. The worst aspect is that they never explicitly state that they don't want you around. They just ensure that you are never truly alone. The Stoics taught us to assess individuals based on their actions, not their words. Even if your life is chaotic, someone who values you would make time for you. A person who resents you will look for reasons, even if there are none. Their avoidance is not unintentional. It is deliberate. They are building a wall between you and them, brick by brick, using whatever excuse they can. And it's not necessarily done with malice. People don't always have the fortitude to be honest. Confrontation is uncomfortable, therefore, they opt to keep their distance. They hope you'll take the hint and fade away before they have to say it. I don't want you in my life. The truth is uncomfortable, but clarity is always preferable to delusion. If someone keeps avoiding you, don't chase them. Do not beg for explanations that will never arrive. Instead, accept what their behaviors indicate. Let them go, and you'll be free of the quiet rejection that weighs more than any uttered statement. If something speaks to you, believe your intuition. Not all doors bang. Some just never reopen. Sign 3. They never appreciate your accomplishments, only downplay them. True friends and allies delight at your achievement. When someone subconsciously resents you, they will react in the opposite way. They will not publicly criticize your successes. This would be too evident. Instead, they will belittle them, making you feel inadequate or unworthy of your successes. Imagine this. You finally get your ideal job after months of struggle. You share the news with someone, anticipating them to be excited. Perhaps simply a simple, "That's amazing, you worked so hard for this." Instead, you receive a lukewarm, contemptuous answer. "So I guess that's a start." There's no thrill or support, only an unseen force dragging you down when you should be ascending. The Stoics warn us that outward affirmation is ephemeral, and we should not rely on others to determine our value. However, it is nonetheless telling when someone close to us fails to recognize our improvement. Their unwillingness to rejoice with you is more than simply apathy. It's a silent rejection of your accomplishments. They don't want to see you succeed because they believe it will spotlight their own deficiencies. Pay attention to the patterns. Do they consistently belittle your accomplishments? Do people shift the subject when you provide good news? Do they find subtle methods to tell you that your accomplishments are not particularly impressive? These are not the behaviors of a supporter, but of someone who is resentful. Recognizing this fact may be unpleasant, but it is also liberating. Don't waste your time seeking approval from people who would rather see you fail. Instead, cultivate a stoic outlook. Find fulfillment in your own progress, not the approval of others who secretly want you to fail. Sign 4. They purposely disregard you. There are few things worse than being treated as if you don't exist. When someone purposefully ignores you, it is not by chance. It's a decision, a statement, a gentle but harsh way of saying you don't matter. This is not the occasional distraction or forgetfulness that occurs in everyday life. This is something deeper, more deliberate. Imagine speaking in front of a group and someone continually acting as if they didn't hear what you said. You send a message, and they take days, if not weeks, to respond, despite the fact that you know they received it. When you go into a room, they acknowledge everyone but you. This is not a coincidence. It is a planned rejection. The Stoics argue that we have no influence over how others treat us, only how we respond. But make no mistake, being ignored does not imply apathy. It's an act of subtle anger. Unlike a debate, which acknowledges feelings, purposeful ignorance erases you without confrontation. It is a quiet type of rejection, implying that you are not worthy of my attention. This conduct is particularly hurtful since it causes you to question yourself. Did I do something wrong? Is this my imagination? The reality is that when someone carries strong animosity, they frequently prefer this strategy over direct conflict. It permits them to injure you without having to accept responsibility for their actions. Recognizing this trend is critical. If someone persistently ignores your presence, words, and efforts, interpret it as a message and take appropriate action. Do not seek acknowledgement when it is not offered. A person who refuses to recognize your value is not worth seeking. In the end, genuine strength is found in stepping away from rejection and towards self-respect. Sign 5. They compliment you sarcastically. Sarcasm is a knife wrapped in silk, an apparently innocent statement that wounds more than an outright insult. When someone compliments you sarcastically, they are not elevating you. They are putting you down while attempting to be courteous. It's one of the most pernicious types of covert hatred since it allows them to ridicule you without confrontation. Imagine this. You finally do something significant, and instead of genuine appreciation, you hear, "Wow, look at you, a true genius now." The words seem good, but the tone is condescending. Perhaps you make an effort with your look and someone smirks, "Oh, you dressed up today. Who are you attempting to impress?" These statements do not honor you. Instead, they make you question yourself. The Stoics taught us to identify things for what they are, not as they look. A genuine compliment elevates, whilst a caustic one is a subtle attempt to undermine. The individual utilizing this method may lack the nerve to criticize you directly, so they mix their comments with just enough mocking to make you feel unsure. They want you to doubt yourself, to wonder if your achievement is genuine and whether your confidence is justified. But here is the reality. No one who sincerely supports you will use sarcasm to hide their hatred. When you see this conduct, don't waste time attempting to decipher it or get their favor. Their statements reflect their anxieties, not yours. Stay grounded, disregard the veiled animosity, and remember that those who strive to diminish your value do not define it. Sign 6. Constant criticism without clear foundations. Not every criticism is designed to help you improve. When someone feels profound anger toward you, their comments are intended to hurt rather than to help you. At first, their criticisms may appear fair, even veiled as useful advice. But with time, you'll discover a trend. The criticism is persistent, ambiguous, and frequently stupid. Whatever you do, it will never be enough. They focus on little details, question your actions, and point out defects where none exist. The aim isn't improvement, it's erosion. The Stoics taught us that genuine knowledge comes from knowing what is under our control and what is not. A mentor or friend will provide constructive comments in order to help you refine your route. However, when someone repeatedly criticizes you without reasoning or justice, their intention is not to build you up, but to tear you down. They urge you to question yourself, doubt your talents, and feel tiny. And the worst part is that they never provide answers, only attacks. This type of behavior is more than simply aggravating. It is a sort of psychological manipulation. The more you internalize their remarks, the more you worry whether you're truly not good enough. Remember, baseless criticism reflects more on the one offering it than the person receiving it. If you find yourself always under the weight of useless criticism, acknowledge it for what it is. Not advice, but rather a disguised form of hate. Do not seek affirmation from those who would undermine you. Stand steadfast in your self-worth and refuse to allow others' remarks to define you. Sign 7. Always comparing yourself to others. Comparison may be a source of inspiration, but in the hands of someone who dislikes you, it becomes a weapon. When someone repeatedly compares you to others, not to boost but to denigrate, they are not providing leadership. They're conveying a message. You're not enough. A great mentor or buddy will emphasize your talents and promote your development. However, when someone holds underlying hostility, they do not recognize your originality. Instead, they gently or overtly remind you that others are more intelligent, successful, beautiful, and talented. Why can't you become more like them? Watch how effortlessly they do it. These remarks were never intended to help you develop. They are intended to make you doubt your worth. The Stoics taught us that external comparisons are worthless. We're not here to compete with others, but to master ourselves. However, when someone consistently puts you to an unrealistic standard, their intention is evident. They want you to feel tiny. They want you to feel that no matter how much you achieve, it will never be enough. And the worst part? They mask it as counsel, making it appear as if they just want the best for you. Recognize this conduct for what it is, and attempt to influence your perspective of yourself. Don't let their comparisons define you. You're on your own road, and the only measure of success that matters is your progress, not how you compare to others. When someone uses continuous comparisons to make you feel inadequate, consider it as a reflection of their own anxieties rather than your merit. Sign 8. They mock your flaws. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has insecurities. However, if someone genuinely respects you, they will never use them against you. When someone continuously mocks your flaws, they are not mocking you lightly. They're displaying their disgust. A good friend, a loving family member, or even a nice acquaintance understands that weakness should not be used. They provide assistance when you fall and encouragement when you question yourself. However, when someone feels animosity for you, they do the reverse. They wait for moments of weakness to drive you down, rather than boost you up. They mock your anxieties, highlight your mistakes, and remind you of your flaws, not with friendliness, but with barely veiled contempt. The Stoics tell us that outward scorn has no real force unless we give it meaning. However, continuous humiliation, particularly from someone close, can leave long-lasting wounds. This type of action is not just harsh, it's a subtle sort of control. They boost their own status by making you feel tiny. They degrade you by making fun of your flaws. If you find yourself in the company of someone who enjoys ridiculing your weaknesses, acknowledge the reality. This is neither rough love nor harmless teasing. It's a type of rejection disguised as humor. And you have two options. Internalize their remarks and allow them to influence your self-worth or rise above them, knowing that no one who enjoys your agony deserves to be in your life. Do not let their laughing define you. Walk away, not because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to see your own value. Sign 9. They do not support you at difficult times. During difficult circumstances, one's true character emerges. When life puts you to the test, the people you care about will be there for you. When someone secretly despises you, their reaction to your challenges reveals their genuine sentiments, not in words but in their absence. When you're going through a crisis, a friend, a family member, or even a good human being will provide you support, even if it's just a nice word, a listening ear, or simply being there. However, if someone feels animosity for you, they will do the reverse. They will ignore your grief and remain aloof when you need them the most. Worse, some people may take pleasure in your efforts, as if your difficulties legitimize their contempt. The Stoics taught us to realize that not everyone will act as we like, but it doesn't imply we should ignore reality. If someone close to you frequently turns their back on you during tough times, it is not an accident. It is an intentional act of neglect that communicates, Your pain does not matter to me. This type of betrayal is one of the most hurtful since it hurts beyond the present moment. It lingers. It makes you question your value, erodes your confidence in people, and leaves you feeling alone when you need it the most. Remember, you are not undeserving of caring. Their disinterest reflects them, not you. Do not beg for help from people who enjoy watching you suffer. Instead, determine who is actually there for you and avoid those who are not. Finally, you are stronger than their absence. Sign 10. They seek you out only to make you feel horrible. Hatred isn't always communicated via avoidance. It may also manifest as unrelenting attacks. A person who despises you will not simply ignore you. They will aggressively seek you out, not to connect, but to destroy you. This action is not unintentional. It is planned and premeditated. They wait for the best opportunity to strike, to discover anything that makes you uncomfortable, and to exploit your vulnerabilities as ammo. Perhaps they mask their attacks as jokes, with just enough poison to hurt. Perhaps they openly criticize you, question your value, and ensure that every interaction leaves you exhausted, disheartened, or embarrassed. The Stoics taught us that genuine strength is found in emotional endurance, in refusing to allow external circumstances to determine our inner serenity. However, this does not imply we should accept harmful conduct. When someone approaches you repeatedly in order to make you feel tiny, this is not a misunderstanding, it is a pattern, and patterns reveal reality. This is not the conduct of a friend or even a neutral acquaintance, it is the behavior of someone who takes pleasure in your agony, viewing your anguish as a success. They do not desire communication but rather conflict. They do not engage with you to assist but rather to harm. If you notice this in someone around you, don't dismiss it. You are not bound to tolerate abuse disguised as engagement. Their desire to see you suffer is their weakness, not yours. The most powerful response? Refuse to interact. Remove yourself from the game. Most importantly, don't allow their remarks to define you. They talk poorly about you behind your back. Hatred does not always face you immediately. Sometimes it operates in the background. When someone despises you, they may not attack you directly, but they will guarantee that others perceive you negatively. Speaking negatively about someone behind their back is a cowardly method to convey dislike. It prevents you from having the opportunity to defend yourself, counter inaccuracies, or even figure out why you are being attacked. Instead, they disseminate stories, distort facts, or accentuate your weaknesses while casually ignoring your positives. Their purpose is not only to reject you, but also to turn others against you, harming your reputation and isolating you without your knowledge. The Stoics taught us that we do not have complete control over our reputation, and we should not allow others' perceptions to influence our peace of mind. However, this does not mean that we should disregard the harm caused by deceptive language. When someone speaks negatively about you, they are not simply rejecting you, they are influencing how the world views you. This type of betrayal can be even more hurtful than a direct encounter. If you learn that someone is circulating false information about you, don't waste time chasing down rumors or proving yourself to individuals who are readily misled. Instead, stand firm in your character. Truth endures over time, and those who genuinely know you will see through the lies. Do not allow the voices of those who despise you to shape your tale. Finally, integrity always trumps gossip. Sign 12. They celebrate your shortcomings. The clearest and most frightening indicator of genuine hatred is when someone takes delight in your suffering. Instead of giving assistance during difficult times, they take pleasure in seeing you fail. Your losses make them happy, as if your sorrow somehow validates their own feeling of superiority. This isn't just apathy, it's something far deeper. Someone who secretly despises you does not just disregard your pain, they glorify it. They may not outwardly boast, but you may sense their concealed pleasure when things go wrong for you. Perhaps it's a grin when you deliver terrible news or a passive-aggressive comment masked as sympathy. Their message is obvious, regardless of how it is delivered. They do not want you to succeed. The Stoics taught us that we cannot control how people see us, but we can manage how much weight we give their ideas. Someone who celebrates your mistakes reveals their own weakness and insecurity. They see Aurelius, this as a threat and young threats as confirmation of their animosity. However, their glee over your pain does not define you. Your resilience does. If you notice this behavior in someone around you, don't waste time seeking their approval or getting it wrong. Instead, focus on your own root. Let their hatred be noise, not a story. The greatest way to respond to people who want you to fail is to succeed for yourself, not for them. Keep this in mind as we wrap up the chapter. You deserve to be surrounded by those who encourage you, not those who secretly want your destruction. Life is too short to expend energy on those who dull your brightness. If any of these 12 indicators resonated with you, consider it a wake-up call. It's time to break free from negativity, keep your peace, and engage in connections that actually nurture your well-being. Hatred, whether silent or loud, should never take precedence over your pleasure. You are in control of your emotional zone. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your accomplishments, encourage you during difficult times, and value you for who you are. Your tranquility is valuable, and you are responsible for protecting it. If this video clarified things for you, don't stop there. Take action. Please share your opinions in the comments. Tell us which sign struck you out the most. If you found this useful, please share it with someone who could benefit from it. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe so you don't miss out on future tips for protecting yourself from harmful influences and developing better, healthier relationships. Above all, never forget that you deserve respect, love, and true connection. Keep standing up and going ahead, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue to unearth the truth that allows you to live your greatest life. Stay strong, genuine, and careful.